Fundamentally, my approach to photography stems from my belief that still photography is a compelling way to communicate, both substantively and conceptually. I'm particularly concerned about global climate change, and specifically the transformation of the Arctic that's occurring as the result of rapidly rising temperatures. There's an enormous gap between what is known about climate change scientifically and what is understood about this tremendously important, really crucial issue by the public and by policymakers. In my work, I'm trying to bridge that gap. When people see some of my photographs, they often ask me, wow, how did you happen to be in the right place at the right time to get a photograph like that? And to be honest, that's sort of like asking a war photographer who's got incredible photographs of what's going on in Afghanistan. Gee, how did you happen to be there when these things happened? The Arctic is the ecological equivalent of a war zone. So my approach to attempting to document what's happening there is simply to spend as much time as possible in the relevant locations. This photograph of the cliff-climbing polar bear is a great example of that. I had the opportunity to visit some newly opened areas in Ruskaya Arktika National Park in the Russian High Arctic. And one day we were exploring by zodiac in the far northern area of Novaya Zemlya called Ostrova Oransky. And we rounded a bend of a tiny island, and in the distance there was a very steep cliff that dropped right down to the sea. And as is often the case in Arctic locations of that kind, there was a large seabird colony nesting on this cliff. And we also saw a white object on the side of the cliff that from a great distance looked like it could have been a patch of snow or ice just sort of wedged into a ledge. But as we got closer, it became apparent that this white object was a polar bear, and that the bear was climbing precariously on this nearly sheer cliff. And as soon as I realized that, I knew immediately why that bear was there, what he was doing, and that this was an extraordinarily important situation for me to photograph. Because the Arctic sea ice is rapidly disappearing, polar bears are increasingly being stranded on land, food deprived. They're stranded on land because the sea ice in their habitat completely disappears for several months at a time during the summer and fall. And they're food deprived because polar bears require sea ice for every essential aspect of their lives. And in particular, they cannot hunt for seals, their primary prey, without using a sea ice platform in some manner. So this bear was trapped ashore on this tiny island, and he wasn't going to be able to hunt for seals again for months until the ocean froze again in late fall or even early winter. And he was hungry. And he was so desperately searching for food that he was willing to jeopardize his safety, really risk his life, to climb precariously on the face of this nearly sheer cliff and attempt to eat seabird eggs. So this situation really encapsulated what these animals are being subjected to as the result of climate change.